If you like this episode, please subscribe, share with others, rate and review so we can continue to bring you great programming.
This is The Thing About Cars, a podcast for car enthusiasts and the people who love them.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Thing About Cars. I'm your friend and host, Mickey Opalak. It is New Year's Eve, though there's no telling when this episode will go live, but just know that there is some celebrating going on in the house. Around the table, we've got a full crew today, going in clockwise order around my screen. Misty, how are you?
Sausage.
Sausage. Tim, how goes it?
Coffee.
Coffee. Dave, the one and only Dave Pauly.
Toast.
Ben, how goes it, Ben?
Oh, it goes. How about you?
It's good, thanks. That's our man Ben, and our guest for today is Mick Opalak. Mick, did I pronounce that correctly?
Opalak is right.
Opalak is right. Great. So we'll more thoroughly introduce our guest here in a minute. Let's start with a moment of grand trivia. Otto, Tim, you got something for us?
Yes. In the spring of 1954 in Seattle, a strange mass delusion broke out as people began reporting damage in an unprecedented number to what part of their cars. This craze led to theories of cosmic rays, sand fleas, and nuclear weapons testing, among other hypotheses affecting this part of their cars. Was that the bumpers, the hoods, the tires, or the windshields? And, for Mick, just so you know, we ask the question at the beginning, and then we do the poll everyone for answers at the end of the episode.
Right.
So let me read that back one more time.
Thank you, Tim.
In the spring of 1954 in Seattle, Washington, a strange mass delusion broke out as people began reporting damage in unprecedented numbers to what part of their cars. This craze led to theories of cosmic rays, sand fleas, and nuclear weapon testing, among other hypotheses. Was the damage occurring to the bumpers, the hoods, the tires, or the windshields?
Spring of 1954. Okay, we'll be thinking about that for our episode. Let's start with our guest segment. Ben, you brought Mick to the table. Would you take the reins on this one?
Yeah, well, Mick and I have known each other for several years through the Lotus Club, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. He's been doing some racing lately.
No kidding.
Yeah, so take it away, Mick. Tell us all about it.
Sure. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been racing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans series. I am not teaching, I'm just the drivers.
Time out, Tim. Mick, we got a bad echo and you're fading a bit. Any chance you've got headphones?
Let me get my earbuds. That's the closest thing I got.
Do we want to talk about my snack plate while we're waiting on him?
While we're waiting on Mick to get his earbuds, Misty, is this the traditional Dutch snack?
Well, yeah, sort of. It's party breads I have green pepper pate. I have old cheese salad, which is like the best thing ever. I have mini worstenbroodjes, mini sausage helderste rookworst, and fouet. So just in general, it's just a big fat sausage fest on my plate, which is exactly how I like it.
All right.
That's usually how you describe the show, too.
Yeah. And then this is a gin and tonic. I did pour light because it's the first one in the afternoon and I need to kind of pace myself. But,
Right.
Cheers, everyone. I love you.
That's right. Happy New Year, Misty.
And honestly, what's not to love?
And
exactly.
Right. Enjoy your sips of Dutch courage there.
That's right. So Mick is back. Let's try that again, Mick.
Do I sign out? Check. 1, 1, 2.
Okay, yeah. So we'll try that again. Ben had just done the introduction, and Mick, you were saying you do some kind of racing?
Yes, for the last 2.5 years, I've been racing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans series. I am not the captain of the team or the car owner. I am one of their drivers, but I will tell you about it. The captain is a friend of mine, and he wanted to get into racing, so we, entered this. Our vehicle, no, I'm not going to tell you our vehicle yet. I'll tell you about the team. So Dustin is the captain, as I said. He bought the car and prepped it. His brother, Dwayne, is our third team member, who also happens to be a VW tech at a VW dealership. We sometimes race with 3 drivers where we switch off the driving, and sometimes we have a 4th driver, just depends. Our vehicle is our race car is a 1999 Volkswagen Passat.
1999 Passat. Okay.
99 Passat, 1.8 liter turbo 4, front wheel drive, 5 speed with over now 255,000 miles, original miles on the clock.
Nice.
All stock.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you to back up here for a second, Mick. 24-hour of lemons. Let's be very clear for the audience what that means in terms of what you're allowed to drive and the limitations on what you're putting on the road.
Yeah, I was about to step back because I didn't really introduce the race series. It's obviously the name is a take on the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is, of course, the most famous 24-hour endurance race in the world. This is also a weekend endurance race. Although when they started 13 or 14 years ago, when the series started, they literally would race 24 hours. But it's a race for junkers, for lemons. The car you purchase to race you can't purchase it for more than $500.
Wow.
So they are junkyard turds, including ours. Although I'll get to that in a second. So you will see everything there, from a 1980 BMW, an old pickup truck. There's even, you name it, the gamut. It's just whatever you can find. Now, when you buy the car for $500, that's all you can spend. So you can find a car that's not running for $500, but then you have to spend more money to get it running. So these are really crappy cars. And then once you purchase it, you're able to spend as much as you want on the safety equipment, because these are real race cars. So you have to gut the interior, put in a roll cage, not a cage, but a full cage, racing seat, harnesses, a whole fire system inside the engine bay and the interior. That's the requirements. And then, of course, the drivers, we have to go full fire suits, fire boots, fire socks, fire gloves, SA rated helmet, all this, the stuff. But
and your underwear, because that's an F1 requirement.
They do include the long underwear, but it's not required.
You have to have those in F1.
Especially when you're racing in August in South Carolina, you're wearing gym shorts underneath, not long fire underwear.
It's a long way from F1.
Yeah, it's
but
a long way from
still, safety is paramount. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Ben,
they do not play around with safety.
Ben, Misty is eating. Misty is having a sausage fest. Of course, she's going to think about the underwear.
Of course.
And I know everyone is just waiting on me to go to make my usual remark of I didn't know Ford had their own racing league.
Lemons. I see.
Yes. Human resources on Lime One, Mickey.
All right, so Mick, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please continue.
No. But the cool thing about the series is the only thing you need to race is a valid driver's license and $100.
That's it?
And that's it. So you get, like Dwayne, our mechanic, when he drove for us in our first race, he'd never been on a racetrack, period. Where I've been doing it for 30 years and Dustin's been doing it for a long time. So there's the skill level when you get on the track and you're actually racing, it's very varied. The cars vary a lot too. You would think those simple rules of $500 would kind of level the playing field, but there are 3 classes because apparently $500 can go a long way with certain cars.
Oh, yeah.
Others. I mean, there are AMC Gremlins out there racing, which,
Yes.
they probably got for $200 because it was sitting in a field for 30 years and they drop any motor they can find in it to get it running. Versus we just raced this month at the beginning of the month at Road Atlanta, and the overall winner of the race was about a 2-generation old Maxima, Maxima sedan, Nissan Maxima.
Wow.
But it was crazy fast and it was set up for racing.
Oh, yeah.
So, they didn't pay $500 for that. So there's a bit of fudging, etc. But every race, every car gets teched, not only for the safety equipment, but they call it the liars or the bribers inspection, because they'll look at that and go, oh, you didn't pay $500 for that. So some cars will start the race with 200 penalty laps. They're literally 200 laps down at the start of the race. But it's the nature of endurance racing where whoever can turn the most laps in this amount of time wins. So we've learned through many races, consistency and reliability is so much more important than speed. Yeah, that car might be slightly, not maybe slightly, it might be a lot faster on lap. But if it breaks every half hour and they have to bring in the pits and fix something and they go back out, they're losing laps. Whereas you can buy a slow car, minimize your pit stops, because pit stops can take anywhere from 2 minutes to 15, depending, whereas in F1, they take 2 to 3 seconds. So
unless you're Ferrari.
Yeah. But so we've learned to try and do like 1.5 or 2 hour stints for each driver, which isn't that bad. But if it's, again, a summer race and you're sweating in a race suit and you've been out there for an hour and a half, you got to keep fluids in you. You got to stay focused. So we'll have shorter stints then. But in a cold weather race, we'll do longer stints. And in summary, it's a blast.
Yeah.
This is
How large is the fuel tank?
I don't even know offhand. I should mention, go back to our car. So it's a 99 Passat, and everything is stock, original stock. So when we gutted it, it now rides like a 4x4 because you take all that weight out of the interior. And now, so now the suspension's soft and kind of high and floaty. Our goal, we started, our first race was the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky, I'm sorry. And our goal was just to finish the race because we'd never raced this car, so we didn't know if it would last a lap or two or the whole weekend. And again, let me regress one more time. I mentioned that in the beginning it was a true 24-hour race, but nothing could make it 24 hours. Everything broke. So now they generally race 8 hours on Saturday, end around 5 p.m., pick it up Sunday morning, race another 8 hours. And so it's a 16-hour endurance race with a nice big break in the middle. So a lot of teams spend Saturday night fixing their cars. So going back to that. So in the first race, our goal was just to finish because we'd never tested the car. We'd never raced it. We didn't know how it would do. And towards the end of the second day on Sunday, we lost our clutch slave cylinder. No clutch. So we said, as like most teams do, you start scouring the local Pep Boys and Advanced Auto Parts. But when you have a 24-year-old turd, it's hard to find parts for them. So our race was over. We didn't finish our first race. Second race, again, the goal was to finish, and we finished. I think that was Road Atlanta 2 years ago.
Are there any benefits to finishing?
No. The prize money only goes to the top car in each class.
Okay.
And there are other prizes, but I don't think any money's attached to them. Like there's the index of influence, they call it, which is the car that did the best with the crappiest car. Not necessarily won, but just we can't believe this thing finished and did this well. That kind of thing.
That's cool. Yeah. So the idea to finishing is just for personal fulfillment's sake. You got the car to do it. Yes. Yeah.
And this is definitely a labor of love.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's another prize they give out called the Heroic Fix, and it's the team that basically did the craziest stuff to finish the race. This last race, we heard of a team that replaced their engine twice in the same weekend. So in other words, they showed up to the track, blew their engine, found a replacement engine in a junkyard, put it in, did another 20, 30, 40 laps, blew that one up, did it all over again, and finished the race. That's the kind of spirit of it. There's a saying that it's just lemons, or it's lemons, because even though you're racing against these people, there's a sense of camaraderie and fun because no one's going to become an F1 driver from this. It's all just go out there and have fun. In fact, the winning car, the number one car, they win $500 in nickels. That's the prize.
Nice.
And they used to, back in the day, the losing car, whoever turned the least laps at the end of the weekend got crushed. But they don't do that anymore because apparently some people got upset at their car getting crushed. So but it's so much fun. And the spirit of lemons, like I said, on one of our Kershaw race, which is a Carolina Motorsports Park. At the end of the first day, our brakes were gone, literally metal on metal. And these were the original 250,000 mile brakes. So we said, let's just replace it all. So we ran to the closest city, which was an hour and a half away. We bought calipers, rotors, pads, and fluid. And we stayed up till midnight in the dark replacing the brakes. However, the next morning we had to re-bleed the brakes and before the race started, and we were out of fluid. And again, you don't want to drive an hour and a half to go get. So we just started walking around the paddock and saying, hey, does anybody have any spare brake fluid we could buy off them? And this team had a brand new bottle of Motul, I think 600. And we're like, oh, thanks. We'll bring back what we don't use and we'll pay for the rest. And they're like, keep it. It's lemons. And that's the spirit of it. It's like, even though we're racing against each other, we help each other out. Like
I thought you were going to say, keep it. This bottle of brake fluid costs $6,000.
Well, Motul RBF is not a cheap brake fluid. That's
No, and in one race, the team next to us in the paddock, they lost their battery for some reason, and we had a spare $25 junkyard battery that we bought, and we gave it to them. And that's lemons. Yeah. So it's just so much fun.
A battery?
I don't. Maybe their alternator was bad or something. I don't know. All I know is that the battery the battery we gave them.
I'm going to stop taking things so literal because I was like, how do you lose a battery?
Right. It falls out on the way to the track.
Oh, parts have fallen off these cars before. But at the end of that race, we thought, oh, they're going to come back and offer to give us our battery back. It turns out it melted in their engine bay, so they lost 2 batteries that race.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So Mick, it just sounds like a lot of fun. I've got a couple questions that I want to ask.
Sure.
Ask our esteemed panelists, our guests, our hosts, if they have any questions. Dave, you got anything for Mick?
It's actually, I'm scrolling through the website right now. 24 Hours of Lemons. One of the things that I think is amazing looking at is the number of races that are taking place across the country simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
There's
about two dozen or so over the course of the year.
Yeah, the 23 scheduled all over, in districts all over, or regions all over the country. Is there like a grand survivor among each of the 5 regions where they come together and race each other?
No, there's no cumulative kind of race or championship finale kind of thing, but they do. Every team, they get a certain amount of points or whatever for how they placed each race. So at the end of the year, they do announce the overall winner for the year and second, third, et cetera. So they do keep track of that stuff for sure.
Gotcha. Does Lemon still offer, I guess, prizes or points for unique styling or modifications?
They don't award prizes, but they will penalize you. They really, really want everyone to have fun, and they want every team to have a theme. Anything you want. I mean, it could be Star Wars, it could be Minions, whatever. And so the teams come up with these incredibly funny themes. And not only the cars do they decorate, but people wear full costumes. And if you wear them all weekend long, literally from Friday to Sunday, they really appreciate that, and you'll get awarded for that. It's just recognition, really. But if you come with, like we did, with a dark green Passat for the first 4 races, we got, well, first of all, they'll put stencils, they'll spray paint the side of your car, bad theme, or those kinds of things. We weren't offensive enough to warrant any penalty laps, but finally, before this last race, our captain decided he wanted to do, it was time for a theme. So we did Waffle House Express Delivery Service.
Yes.
So
Nice.
So the car has a giant Waffle House banner down the side, et cetera. And then he built a replica of the Waffle House lit sign and just mounted to the roof. And he was worried. He was worried about how it would affect the car aerodynamically.
Sure. That's it.
This thing is so slow. You could put a dump truck on the roof. We're not going to get any slower.
Oh, my Lord. That is so awesome.
We got tons of comments. Everyone loved the Waffle House theme. And of course, Friday, when you go get the car tech inspected, our plan was to bring a bunch of Waffle House to hand to the judges, to bribe them so we get less penalties. But every team, they give the judges beer and toys and everything you can imagine.
Can I become a judge?
I was thinking the same thing.
Can we get the thing about cars to come judge an event?
Right.
You'd have to reach out to the folks at 24 Hours of Lemons.
Don't tempt me.
But they do have the same. They have the same crew of about 5 or 6, maybe 7 officials who show up to every race, and they are the judges, and they run the whole thing. And they're kind of regional, so we see the same guys in the Southeast, and people probably in the Northwest see the same group of judges, et cetera. But they do travel around quite a bit.
This really just underscores how far people in this show will go for beer and waffles.
That's
Yeah,
right.
pretty much. Although I was going to say, is it possible for us to sponsor your car and you attach Phil, the anthropomorphic bollard?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. That makes me think of, like I said earlier, they take safety very seriously. So you can get black flagged for, unsafe driving, something's hanging off your car, the usual racing stuff. But if you're just a jerk on the track, they'll black flag you, and the penalties can be hilarious. I don't remember what the offense was, but they had this big iron pig, and they would pull you in, weld it to your hood, like where the hood ornament would be, and you had to finish the race with this big pig on your hood.
Yes.
Another one, I just took video of this at the last race. If you do something egregious like passing under a yellow flag, you didn't. So they'll pull you in. They pull the driver out of the car. They strap him to the roof of his own race car with saran wrap. And they make him drive. They make them drive around the paddock for about 10 minutes with a bullhorn, saying, "I will not pass under yellow flag. I will not pass." And then they let him get in, keep racing. But he just lost 15, 20 laps by doing that. So, and everyone in the paddock who's wrenching on their cars, watching him slowly go in circles, is yelling, "Shame, shame!" It's hilarious.
Tim, we need to contact the FIA. Although, actually, what what I would love to see, just as like a one-off documentary, is Kimi Räikkönen participating in this with all of the radio.
It would be great because we do that. Our teams, we don't have fancy little radios, although we do have them. We don't use them. We end up just going to our cell phone, so we'll have earbuds in our ears, so we are constant in contact with the pit. Like, I'm going to stop for gas, but half the time it's that a-hole just cut me off, or somebody dive bomb me, or I'm going to dive bomb this guy into turn one and see what happens, or I just got hit. I think I got black flagged. It's just a way of communications with the pit.
Kimi, Valtteri, and Hulk.
Alonso.
Yeah, you cannot forget Fernando Alonso. That man, he cracks me up. It just absolutely kills me.
So we are rapidly running out of time. I hate to interrupt, but I have my last question sort of piggybacks on the whole judging thing. I'll contact them to see if we can guest judge or something. But are there other ways that the thing about cars can come play with you? I think it would become kind of fun to at least try to help out or be part of an event or something like that. That would be a nice thing to explore.
Absolutely. If you're talking just about lemons, well, we've been very lucky. Our car broke down once, and that was when the slave cylinder went out. Some teams, they show up, they do 2 laps, and they spend the whole weekend just wrenching on their cars. So they finish the weekend with 2 laps. So probably way down at the bottom. But you always need help wrenching, getting supplies, getting food, etc. Although usually there's a food truck at the track. But it can be a fun weekend or a long, tedious one. If some electrical issue you can't track down and the car just whatever. But
I guess I would have to just send like packages of stroopwafels, because in case you missed it, Mick, everybody else is based in Georgia. And nobody currently based in Georgia is actually born and raised in Georgia. I was born and raised in Georgia and am currently based in the Netherlands.
Okay, nice.
It's a really bad restraining order.
It's a terrible thing.
It's pretty significant. Speaking of restraining orders, Mickey, I want you to know there is a Waffle House Princess t-shirt, and my birthday is in April.
What do you say, Misty?
And Misty, just so you know, we can now get stroopwafels at our local Costco.
Yeah, but you can't get Albert Heijn stroopwafels.
Nay.
So dish.
All right, Mick, the questions I may have warned you about this, and if I haven't, I've apologized. We always ask our guests 4 questions at the end of every guest segment. The first question is, what's your dream car?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The knee-jerk traditional one would be the McLaren F1, greatest supercar ever made. But as I get older, get a little more practical, and I love a Miata.
Yeah.
I had 3 of them when I was in my 20s, up till I got married, and I lived on those. Those were my pickup truck, my grocery store, my daily driver, my sports car, my track car. They never broke. They're so much fun. And just this year in January, I got my 4th one. I have a 2023 RF GT. Love it.
Oh my God.
Fixing it up.
Misty just got moist.
Oh my God. That's because I happen to own a 2016.
Yeah. I love a Miata.
And mine was the first one in the town that I live in. And then I joined the podcast, and we interviewed 2 of the founding designers, Tina Hall.
The Miata.
Yeah.
Tom Hall. And
Bob Hall and
Tom Matana.
Dean Case. Okay. And I was told in no uncertain terms that I was not allowed to put a luggage rack on the trunk of my car. Her name is Claudette. She is soul red. And unfortunately, I have to take her next week to get her windshield replaced because I hit a star and it went thunk. And I was like, I said things that were not family friendly.
You hit a star?
No, I got a star. I caught a rock.
Okay, yes.
And then was driving home and just saw it go boom and had a problem.
I know we're running short on time, but as a third runner-up, real quick, I have to say I also have an Evora 400, and I cannot say enough good things about the Evora 400. It's a great car.
Well, you do know, Mick, that the engine sound of the MX-5 is based on the Lotus Elan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a Miata guy way back. Good.
Mick, question number 2: where is your next road trip going to be?
Probably to Austin, Texas.
Okay.
The National Lotus Club has a national meet every year, and it bounces around the country. This year was Knoxville. It's been Vegas, the Northeast, everywhere. It bounces around. And then next year is going to be Austin, so I plan on driving out there for that.
Very cool.
Dakota?
No, Coda is a little pricey.
Oh, okay.
Ben, are you going to go to Austin with the Yellow Lotus?
I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
the car doesn't have air conditioning, so I wouldn't drive it out there if I did.
260 air conditioning. What the hell's wrong with you, Ben? Toughen up. Woman up. Ovary up.
HR calling on line 2 again.
All right, Mick, what's the most fascinating thing you've seen either on the road or in someone's garage?
Fascinating. That's a hard term. On the road. Yeah. Can you clarify that? Because I mean, I've been in the car scene for 30 years, so I've been on a million mountain drives, cross-country road trips, track days. I've seen it all. Oh, well, just something that stands out as funny is I was doing a track day once at Barber in Birmingham, Alabama, and someone had a Honda Pilot, which is a big, boxy SUV, but it was lowered and gutted and cased, and they were tracking it. It was fascinating. But you'll see all kinds of fascinating stuff if you race lemons. Go to the 24hourslemons.com and you'll see someone took an airplane fuselage, put a drivetrain in it, and they're racing it.
Nice.
That's nuts.
As a race car.
That is cool.
The fourth question is always something random and silly. Time warning here. What is your biggest kitchen fail?
Kitchen?
This is a new one.
This is a new one.
Yeah, I don't think I've asked this one before.
On more than one occasion, I've under-seasoned things. Things just the recipe sounds awesome, and then it's bland. And I'm really like, you're kind of supposed to salt and pepper at each step. You can't just throw a little salt on the top at the end. You got to season as you go, and it makes the dish much better.
Yeah.
So you're foodie as well. Is that what I'm hearing, Mick?
I love to cook. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Mick, thank you for joining us. I hope we can see you on the track someday. We would love to join you for lemons in any capacity. And real quick before we wrap up,
spectating is allowed. Spectating is allowed. Anyone can come out and watch the race.
Yeah, but we're not just anybody.
Good point.
We have an anthropomorphic bollard.
We have an anthropomorphic bollard. Exactly.
We would proudly fly that on our car.
Yeah. So we got 9 minutes left.
I see more drama coming in.
8 minutes left. And let me ask one question. I've got a question for Ben and Tim, and then we have trivia. So I hope we have enough time. Let me see if we can ramrod our way through this. But Ben, you posted that thing about the Miata with the Jaguar engine in it. When the Miata first came out, somebody put a 5-liter Ford engine in it.
Yeah,
I didn't know if you were aware of that.
Lots of engines have been in them. Anything that can fit probably has been put in one. But that the Jaguar V6 swap is really cool because not only does it sound great, but it's a ton of power. And because the original engine is an iron block and the Jaguar is all aluminum, it doesn't really change the weight.
Got it. All right. Yeah, I knew Misty was going to have a coronary about the Ford.
Yeah, I have problems with that.
Yeah.
It's not like
the original one you mentioned is called the Monster Miata, and it had flared fenders. It was only later that they didn't sell as well as they hoped, but then later FM Flying Miata came out with their V8 kits, which don't use a Ford, they use an LS, but they also, because they're aluminum, they don't have much of a nose weight penalty at all.
That seems crazy. But yes, Misty has a severe Ford allergy.
Yeah, I do. And I inherited that from my grandfather, who was a mechanic in the backwoods of North Georgia and somehow managed to always drive an Opel. I've never really understood that. But yeah.
I've only owned one Ford. It was a 2000 Mustang because that's what my wife was driving when I met her, and it was crap.
Yeah,
one of the worst cars.
Justified.
Justified.
Right, Tim, worst cars.
My quick question for you before we wrap trivia is, you posted this thing on Facebook about the fastest lap in racing history. It was a qualifying lap, solo driver. It was not in direct competition with anyone else. But why does a solo lap get the attention? Why aren't all cars going 241 miles an hour?
Well, it was qualifying for the 2000 IndyCar race at Fontana Motor Speedway. So typically, when you are driving a race car, either you start the race with your fuel tanks full and brand new tires. So you have the weight penalty of a full fuel tank, but the tires are at their optimal when they're new. So then you get to the end of the stint where you now have old tires, but a light fuel tank, and your lap time equates about the same. This was in qualifying on brand new tires and a low fuel load, and at a point where the confluence of engine technology and chassis and aerodynamic rules had all come together in the IndyCar series, and The qualifying lap was at 241 and some change miles per hour. And that was driven by Gilles de Ferran, who actually passed away 2 days ago from a heart attack while at a track day with his son. And he was actually won the IndyCar championship twice and the Indy 500 in, I believe, 2003.
Wow.
Yeah. A great man, great race car driver, who also got his degree in engineering, so he really knew his way around a race car more than a lot of drivers do. But yes,
our listeners can't see it, but the new Waffle House delivery vehicle is now Mick's background on our screen. That is really cool.
I love that.
That is really cool.
That's pretty sweet.
And the amazing thing is all that paint was done with stencils and rattle cans. Up close, it looked really professional, but
yes,
it was all just.
I believe it.
I would show up in my Waffle House Princess T-shirt and a tiara.
Tim, take us away. Let's close with trivia.
Okay.
We got 4 minutes.
So let's take it from the top. The question is, and was, and shall be. In the spring of 1954 in Seattle, a strange mass delusion broke out as people began reporting damage in unprecedented numbers to what part of their cars? This craze led to theories of the damage being caused by cosmic rays, sand fleas, and thermonuclear weapons testing, among other hypotheses. So was the damage happening to bumpers, hoods, tires, or windshields? And Dave, what is your guess on that?
Windshields.
Okay. Mickey?
I'm going to guess tires because, sand fleas are on the ground. Tires are susceptible to other things, so I'm guessing tires.
Okay. Misty?
I'm going to go with windshields because that's on my mind this week.
Okay. Ben?
I'm going to go with tires, and I would love to see a confluence of, cosmic rays, sand fleas, and whatever the other one was. That would be really awesome.
Right. Okay.
That's what I'm expecting for a New Year's Eve party tonight.
Yeah. Our guest, Mick, what is your best guess?
It's windshield.
Okay. Right. And yes, the answer is windshields. Oh. And it basically was just people had, not really noticed before that, as you tend to drive along, you get all kinds of stone chips and sand blasting from stuff coming up, and just someone started to notice it and mentioned it and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and all of a sudden everyone is going out and inspecting their windshields and not realizing this is just the normal wear and tear that happens to a windshield.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. I know I'm going to go check my windshield. So, Mick, thank you for being our guest today. We hope to see you again in person at some point. That would be very cool. And in the meantime, awesome. Yes, thank you for joining us.
You should do a stroke waffle themed car.
Stroke waffle.
Or a Delft Blue.
While Misty is going on about that, thanks to all our listeners, as always, for joining us. We will have another episode for you again in about a week. And I know it's going to be sometime in February before this episode goes live. But Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year to all of our Thing About Cars people. 2023, for me at least, has been better because of you. And I will look forward to having more of that in 2024. Take care, everybody.
Fijne jaarwisseling iedereen.
Ciao, y'all.
She said.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Thing About Cars. We'll see you on the road.